Hello and welcome to the programme. If actually this is a programme, are we thinking of this as a programme because it's sort of radio and television? Well, it's not radio and it's not.
It's a radio programme with pictures. If you define that as a programme, that's fine. But it's a radio programme with pictures.
Should we just call it a thing?
A thing. Welcome to the thing.
Welcome to our thing.
The trial thing.
Are you going to sit like that for the whole?
Because you're kind of sitting forward, and that's kind of bothering me. I have to I have to align my back with yours. It's very difficult.
On this experimental thing, which we have, you're going to be doing your movie reviews as normal.
Yeah.
And people are just going to be able to see you in all your glory.
And people are going to be able to see you listening.
Excellent.
Okay.
What's coming up? What are we going to do? What reviews are you planning to include in the show today?
Well, we're definitely going to be reviewing Far From Madding Crowd, Monsters Dark Continent, 2x2, and Unfriended.
So it's quite a busy week then, pretty much all in all.
Packed week.
Also, we have Carey Mulligan as our very special guest. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Simon.
Remember to make it clear. That's what we're here. We're here making it clear. That's
what are we making clear?
We're going to make
confused already, and we haven't even started.
Our whole thing clear. Joseph Coward on this. Went to see The Falling last Friday. I thought it was like a film undergrad's end-of-year project. Pretentious, all over the place, incredibly hammily acted.
What the story is about English school, 1969. These girls start having these communal fainting fits, but are they faking, or is it actually something to do with a connection with a recent tragedy? I thought it was wonderful. The one thing I would say is it is proving a Marmite movie. It is. Some people love it as much as I do. Some people are completely left cold by it, but that's fine. It is a strangely theatrical performance. The
performance has elements of performance.
Yes, it's not... OK, fine. So are they actually fainting or are they performing fainting? Well, they're evidently... It's a mixture of both, because what's happening is it's a sort of strange, balletic, elegiac performance. I think the performances are terrific, and I think they're very precise, and they're doing exactly what they're meant to do.
Joel Fantini, age 15, in New South Wales. In 140 minutes, David Lynch managed to perfect cinema with his masterpiece Mulholland Drive. In 140 minutes, Joss Whedon manages to put Tab A into slot B with the Avengers Age of Ultron. An excruciating barrage of unfunny one-liners, mind-numbing visual effect sequences and dramatically inert storytelling. That's from Joel, age 15. Boom.
Well, OK. No, I mean, OK. I don't think
15.
it is... 15. Yeah.
15.
Why are you saying that?
Sounds like he's 35.
No, I know. I mean, we already know that the generation behind us are
already
ahead of us by quite some distance. Yeah, I mean, I'm very, very aware of that, and we are in the Twilight.
That's a
and
movie.
There we go. That is Twilight.
Twinosaur is there. Pixar on the phone.
I think it's not soulless. I think it's not Tab A into slot B. I think Tab A into slot B would be Transformers 4. The problem is that there's too many characters vying for space on what is a limited stage, and consequently you do get an awful lot of cross-cutting between, even in the action sequences, these people are doing this thing, these people are doing this thing, these people are doing this thing, but it's fun. I'd rather see Whedon do this than anybody else, and it actually has a beating heart as opposed to just being some horrible franchise product.
Just one more.
Can I ask an Age of Ultron question very quickly?
Is this a rhetorical question?
No, it's a question to the audience.
Yes.
Okay? Is it just me, or did anybody else see, in the moment in which there's the great upload of data, there's, at the birth of the Nemesis character, in which suddenly we get all this access to all the world's information, and we see this sort of flashback of history.
Is it just you?
Hang on. I'm sure there is an image of Pazuzu from The Exorcist in there. It's really... I'm sorry, don't do that. It's really fleeting. I've seen it twice now. Did anybody else see it?
I'm sure there is, Mark.
No, I don't want you to say that, because in that patronising way, I want somebody out there in the world to say, yes, Mark, I saw it too.
Now, I'm slightly concerned by this? Because it sounds to me as though you're hallucinating.
Yeah,
You've studied The Exorcist for so long that you just suddenly start seeing these images all the time.
The first time I saw Avengers Age of Ultron, that's exactly what I thought. I thought, I've just imagined that. The second time I saw it, I'd actually forgotten about the first time. The second time I saw it, I was convinced I'd seen it. I can tell you exactly where it is. It's in the left lower quadrant of the screen. It is a winged demon, and I am absolutely convinced that I saw it. And somebody did tweet in the show to say that they had seen it as well, or actually to say that they were glad.
One person, just
yes,
one
person tweeted and say, "I'm not going mad. I saw it too."
Fine. Precise instructions. If you've seen it, get in touch. So the thing about the Dialite Twinosaur,
You're determined to turn this into some kind of saleable thing.
Well, doesn't it sound like a
Batman versus Superman? Twilight versus dinosaurs.
No, Dialite Twinosaur is one character.
Oh, it's a name of a person.
It's a name of a...
Sorry, I thought it was like Predator Aliens.
No,
Dialite Twinosaur.
Well, it could be. Inspired by this, we got in from Giles Blake.
Yeah.
Right, so he's animated this thing. We're basically...
He hasn't animated it, he's drawn a picture.
A cheap, two-headed dinosaur, really, with you on one side and the other. But I think it could be a Pixar movie, John Goodman, Amy Adams. They only live in the kind of Twilight world.
This is like the great world in which you pitch monkey tennis and somebody thinks it's a good idea, right?
Maybe we need to say hello to Jason Isaacs.
Oh, yes. Hello
Jason
Isaacs.
Anyway, Carey Mulligan, special guest on the programme.
Yeah.
Do you get excited at the thought of another Thomas Hardy adaptation with all that lovely Wessex?
I got excited at the idea of seeing Far From the Madding Crowd because when they reissued the Schlesinger version just a few months ago, it looked fantastic. And I'd remembered just how good that story is. So, yes, I'm really looking forward to it.
I brought you a lamb.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Oak. He's such a dear thing.
He's come too soon and won't last the winter, so I thought you'd like to rear it instead.
Thank you, that's very kind. We'll make some tea.
The lamb is not why I came.
Go on.
Well, Miss Everdeen, I wanted to ask, would you like to marry me?
And that was a clip from Far From the Madding Crowd. I'm delighted to say Carey Mulligan joined us. Carey, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Thank you very much indeed for coming in. I studied Far From the Madding Crowd when I was at school, and I knew that your character was Bathsheba, or was it Bathsheba?
We said Bathsheba.
Bathsheba. Explain your Bathsheba. It still sounds strange because she's slightly different to the Thomas Hardy Bathsheba.
I mean, I'd never read Madding Crowd. I didn't do it at school. I'd read Tess and Mayo of Casterbridge and never picked up Madding Crowd. So I came to it just for the film for the first time completely with no real idea about the story apart from that it was set in the country. So I sort of felt like it was my Bathsheba from my reading of it. And I think what the director, Thomas Vinterberg, did was make her empathetic. And that doesn't mean necessarily putting things exactly or words or dialogue exactly from the page onto the screen, because it's a different feeling, it's a different sensation that you get from reading to as you do as a viewer. So I think she's more empathetic in our version, so that the audience is sort of behind her story more, in a way.
I think one of the reasons why the film works is that, and David Nichols did the script, is that your Bathsheba is I'm still thinking Bathsheba, but I'm saying Bathsheba.
Yeah.
It's clearly 19th century Dorset, but you still feel contemporary, but not too contemporary. You know, it's not as though you've been beamed in from 2015. It just so happens that you're wearing 19th century gear. So that's a very interesting balance to try and strike, which I think is one of the reasons why the movie works.
Yeah, I think David did that brilliantly. You know, there are lines directly from the book that work beautifully, and then there are passages or scenes that have been reworked in a way to make them slightly more accessible. I think you never want to alienate your audience, and so if you soften things or relax things in a way to make them feel more accessible, then that's great. And it was also done in the style of the film. I mean, the costumes don't feel like actors wearing outfits. It looks like people wearing their real clothes, and the way that it's shot feels handheld and feels sort of present.
Meryl Streep was on the show just very recently talking about Into the Woods, and she was fabulous.
In fact, Mark was thinking that I'd fallen in love with Meryl Streep. Anyway, that's not true. We just got on very well. But as soon as I mentioned Suffragette, her face lit up again. You know, she was lit up talking about Into the Woods, but she was really lit up about talking about Suffragette. What can you tell us about that? Because
we're all really excited about it. So much of my understanding was naively this sort of muted version of the history of what women went through. And actually, this is the first time people have really made a story about what women really went through.
Particularly with these two movies, you are being talked about almost like a feminist icon. Are you happy with that?
I was so lucky for these two projects to come along.
Guns for women!
These amazingly strong female characters just come up very rarely, and so to get to play both of them has been brilliant. And I do want to represent strong women on screen, and I do think it's important for young girls to get inspired by watching, women making decisions for themselves and being tough.
We really appreciate you coming in, Kerry. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.
The story is of somebody who is in an oddly independent position, that she's inherited this farm, and yet she's also torn between three suitors. And the centre of the story is to do with her quest for independence, around which the romances circle, but they never usurp that central position. And what's interesting about the film is that, therefore, it is modern, but it's also oddly old-fashioned. What this is a very solid, very handsomely mounted, very intelligently written, and, well-played adaptation. What it isn't is raw or rough around the edges or, sort of incendiary. What? You're giving me a funny look.
No. I just wonder, when you say it's not incendiary, I was just processing what you're telling me about.
Yeah, I mean,
but the book, it's a while since I read it. But maybe it's therefore more faithful to the Thomas Hardy, because the book is not incendiary and lustful.
I know, I agree. I don't think it's necessarily a criticism of it. It's a fairly well. I mean, it's having fun. It's reverential of the text. It's also having fun with the text. If there is a flaw to this version of Far From the Madding Crowd, there was a couple of moments in which the dirt on the faces looked a little bit designer. It looked a little bit like. Do you know what I mean? There was a couple of moments with there's a
Farm Clothes by Armani.
Farm Clothes by Armani with a little smudge on the cheek.
And top stars Carey and Michael.
Yeah, Mulligan is terrific. I think Michael Sheen is great. So my general feeling about it was a really good, solid, intelligent, well-made adaptation. A little safe around the edges sometimes, but with a very strong playing up of the film's of the story's feminist thrust, which I liked very much. And I think it'll stand the test of time. I think it's a movie that people will go back to.
Beatrice, who's in London. As an LTL who's in the final throes of a PhD in Victorian literature, I was thrilled to get the chance to see a preview of Far From the Madding.
OK, fine. So here we go, the informed view.
Exactly. Unfortunately, what I saw was a film so preoccupied with the stunning Dorset landscapes that it forgot to be dramatic. Hardy's stories ought to feel as inexorable as the changing of the seasons, but the film fails to make you care for any of the characters
I don't agree with that.
Or their fate, so that when certain tragic events happen...
It's passed into the lexicon, hasn't it?
The audience broke out in giggles.
What?
Carey Mulligan has to act twice as hard as any of her leading men to make the thing come to life.
The audience laughed.
Anyway.
Listen, obviously I defer to your greater knowledge.
This is Beatrice that you're talking to, not me.
Yes, I don't defer to your greater knowledge.
No.
I think you absolutely sympathise with Bathsheba, which is... And you raised this in the interview, which is interesting because in many ways she can be read as a difficult, spiky character.
We're hoping you're going to get involved in the programme, and that is you doing the reviews. There's summed up in a selfie whereby you and maybe your mates take a selfie and in the facial expression sum up everything that you want to say about the movie.
Just to be clear, you do that after the film is finished, not while the film is playing. Just to be clear.
While the film is on, no, that would obviously be against the code.
To check.
So summed up in a selfie, this is what we have. First of all, Paul C., this is his review of The Falling. I'm concerned because he does look as though he might be dead.
That's sort of plot description of the Falling. I hope what he doesn't mean is that The Falling had him falling asleep, which is kind of what it implies.
That's what he says. OK, next. Anita O'Hara has sent us this. This is for Unfriended.
Very good.
Now, I would say they had a good time at the Odeon, clearly. I would also say they're scared.
I mean, I would say what's remarkable is that Louis Theroux apparently paid to see Unfriended, so good for him. Yeah.
OK, next. Our next summed up in a selfie. This is from Mrs. Kavanagh. Been to see Emperor's New Clothes. Angry. Furious.
But is she angry because the film has made her angry by raising these themes, or is she angry at the film? Which one is she angry at? I need context.
Too many questions. Mrs. Kavanagh says, send us another one. OK, next. Summed up in a selfie. Kat Corbetti.
Yeah.
Avengers Age of Ultron. That's a really good one because that says...
That goes meh.
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 Definitely.
Yeah, that's absolutely the face of meh. One more.
This is from Stuart the Man-Toad. We're still on Avengers Age of Ultron. I would say that's an unmitigated...
That's a 5 out of 5.
Success. He is thrilled and he needs to go to the loo. Thanks very much for all the summed up in a selfies. Keep them coming. You email mayo@bbc.co.uk. Next movies are...
We're going to be reviewing Unfriended, the cyber thriller, then 2x2 and Monsters Dark Continent.
So Unfriended is this new cyber horror movie. The story essentially is a group of young friends are having an online Skype chat and iMessaging each other, and whilst they're doing all this, a faceless troll who appears to be channeling the spirit of a fellow student who died a year ago turns up within their chat, and whatever they do, they can't get rid of the troll. And the sort of the sucker punch of the movie is that the whole thing plays out on the computer screen of one of the protagonists.
Who would hack into a dead girl's account?
Maybe it's Laura.
All right, everyone, hands up right now. Who's doing this?
Oh my God.
So in many ways, it's it's the old horror trope. Something happened, a secret in the past, and now the vengeful spirit is coming back to it. And I think your response to it will be to some extent conditioned by how you feel about that culture. If you are at home with the culture, what it does is says something quite interesting about cyberbullying, because many people have seen the trailer say, OK, you're being stalked through the internet, well, just log off. And the smart thing about the plot is that at several points they all tell each other, say, log off, just turn your computer off, walk away. But the point is they can't. Why can't they? Because they're addicted. It's a film which is about the fact that cyberbullying only works if you cooperate with it, if you give it, and all the way through the film there's links that come up which you don't click that link, don't do this, don't do that, and they do. And why do they? Because actually the underlying theme of it is that it's to do with the fact that you can't turn the screen off.
Oh my God.
Hey!
And that is what makes it work. I'm surprised that at no point in that Unfriended review did you say to me that computer screen thing is that Brechtian alienation device. I'm just surprised. I was like leaving it open for you and you just didn't.
That's true. I just realised I need a new one. I haven't... My old Brechtian alienation device has been worn out.
Has broken down.
Wikipedia. Brechtian alienation device. A Brechtian alienation device, or Verfremdungseffekt, is a technique used by directors to distance the audience from emotional involvement in the work through jolting reminders of the artificiality of the film performance. It was coined by this man, the poet, playwright, theatre director and highly influential clever clogs, Bertolt Bertie Brecht. The effect can be achieved by ignoring the fourth wall, like in Alfie when Michael Caine directly addresses the camera.
I suppose you think you're going to see the bleeding titles now? Well, you're not, so you can all relax.
Or the simple avoidance of sentimental dramatics, a lack of method acting, and no acting at all. Another way of inducing Verfremdungseffekt in an audience is through simple and evident lighting and set design, such as in Dogville by Lars von Trier. It was in Mark's review of Dogville that he used this phrase for the first time. Brechtian alienation device, that is, rather than Verfremdungseffekt. Mark can't say Verfremdungseffekt. Accidental and undesirable incidents of Brechtian alienation devices would be when your local world of cine projects a film in the wrong format, or somebody starts eating some really loud food. Something, of course, you should never do, as this would be a felonious violation of the Wittertainment Cinema Code of Conduct. To this day, Simon deliberately refuses to understand references to this technique.
Anyway, so what else is
Claws In
is out this week? Claws In, who's in that? It's not a bad title for a movie, actually. That could be the follow-up to Daylight Twinosaur.
Thank you. 2x2. So it's a Germany, Luxembourg, Belgium, Ireland co-production, and it has all the Euro pudding that you would expect from that. It's an animated feature about animals have to get onto the ark. There's a Nestrian and a Grimp, and a sort of weird stay-putty mollusk thing called Stay Put, voiced by our very own Chris Evans.
The name's Stay Put. I'm a BC's best friend.
You are so annoying.
We joke like this all the time.
Now I have to share my last moments with a constantly chattering backseat driver.
If you've seen Madagascar or Ice Age or any of those franchises, you will have seen basically all this stuff done better. There are a couple of, you know, a couple of giggles en route, but certainly no more than that. It's not very good.
OK, so one of the things that we do on the radio programme is to do TV Movie of the Week, which is, I think, is a very generous thing, because we're not saying you have to go to the movies, because a lot of people can't be bothered, or they don't want to, but there's a whole bunch of movies on television. So Mark expertly picks one a week. Thing is, it's always on like 3:30 in the morning on Film 4.
Well, no, it's not always. We did have something that was on BBC Two at 9 o'clock a few weeks ago.
Yes, but it was only you only put there to shock
annoy you, yeah.
OK, so we've got a brand new feature, which is conveniently and helpfully called Not the TV Movie of the Week. So take it away.
So you can go to the cinema and watch movies, or you can stay at home and television and watch movies, but increasingly people are streaming movies. So if they can't, yes, they are. And this week the thing we've chosen is 8½, which is on the BFI player, see what they did there. And it's the 1963 classic Fellini film, which is reissued in cinemas, but if you can't get to a cinema to see it, you can stream it on the BFI player. It's a really terrific movie. It still stands the test of time. There's also a BBC Arts webpage which documents the restoration of the film, lots of interesting information. So check it out and then see it on the BFI iPlayer.
Everyone says you should see it on a big screen.
Yeah, but if you can't see it on a big screen, you should see it on a small screen.
Callie, who's got a BA in archaeology,
hello,
is in Newbury. Afternoon, chaps. Will Mark be reviewing Monsters Dark Continent this afternoon? I'm looking for ammunition to convince my other half that he wants to see it, after he dismissed Monsters as a dull love story without watching it.
Okay.
Well, I thought it was great. And you're right, by the way.
Shall I leave
you want to do? Is that now?
Yes, it is now.
Do Monsters now?
Yeah. So what's clever about Monsters was that the title itself was sort of ironic, because it says monsters, but the monsters are actually in many ways the humans, rather not the two central characters, but the monsters are the humans as much as they are these extraordinarily beautiful extraterrestrials. It's beautiful and elegiac, right? So now comes a sequel directed by Tom Green, which basically makes the same genre shift that Alien to Aliens did. Alien being this kind of strange mood, I mean a horror movie, but a moody, you know, slow art piece. Aliens being this time it's war. And that's essentially what you get in the case of Monsters. The infected zones have expanded, and our anti-heroes are soldiers from Detroit being sent out into the war zone where there is insurgency going on.
Kill the monsters, baby! Woo!
For a good section of it, it is just another shouty, macho war movie. And there's an awful lot of, you know, spittle and tooth grinding and people shouting, "Ah!"
Well killed, baby! Who is it? Who's that?
As it gets into its second half, it moves into something in which is slightly more confident, and the monsters themselves start to make an appearance. But there were moments in it where I thought all the things that I like about the first film are absent. I was disappointed. This is a very, very different beast, and not for the better.
And only because you've said it 5 times. Isn't it elegiac?
I pronounced loads of words wrong.
But elegiac, you think?
Yeah, it was what I've always said, but, you know, hey, until the age of 20-something, I thought there was a word croaf. I thought when people said when the crow flies, they thought they were saying the crow lies. I only found out it wasn't true when I asked somebody how you spell it.
Anyway, it's the end of our thing. It's the end of our experimental programme. A little bit of television, a little bit of radio, but not quite either. We don't know if we're going to do this again. Ever. If you've liked it, feel free to praise us fully at Wittertainment, or just write to the BBC. But if you didn't like it,
just keep quiet.
Yeah, and you'll never see us again.
As they said in Only Fools and Horses, it's not goodbye, it's bonjour.